Hi everyone, I'm Jack and I'm back for another episode of Shade Tree Supercar. How to build a supercar under a shade tree. Or as some would like to rename it, how to ruin a perfectly good Corvette. Anyway, let's get on. So for a little background, I bought a brand new Corvette convertible with the intention of using the chassis to build my own car. Now what I did was I built my own rough body panels just to see how it would work. There they are. So now what I'm doing is I'm waiting for purchased fenders to replace those. So that part of the project's on hold. In the meantime, I bought molds to convert a C6 Corvette into a C2 Corvette. And that would be a 63 to 67 Corvette. So you can see they all bolt together. The idea is you go in and you put the fiberglass and the gel coat inside of there and let it set for several hours, actually several days. Pull it out and you have a body of a 63 to 67 Corvette this is the front, and there's molds that also bolt together for the back. The challenge is if I did that, it probably wouldn't fit on the C8 Corvette because it wasn't made for a C8 Corvette. The dimensions are a bit different than a C6 Corvette. So what I did was I took the molds apart and made individual pieces. So you can see here, there's one of the rear quarter fenders. There's the hood. There's the rear hatch. There's the area that surrounds the hatch. And then there's the back taillight section. I made each of those, mocked them up on the car just to make sure they'd fit. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking the individual pieces and putting them together to get the dimensions right. So what I did was I trimmed the excess in between here, right there, on both of those, put them back into the molds, bolted the two, these are two separate mold pieces, bolted them together. And now I'm going to make one piece out of these two pieces. Then what I'll do is take this piece right here, slide it onto the back of the car, and see where it goes front to rear relative, where the taillight section over there hits the taillight section there. And I'll just see what it looks like and see if that's okay or not. All right, I think that's got everything covered. If you can hear it, it's starting to rain. One of the worst things that can happen when you're doing fiberglass is to get stuff wet, because fiberglass won't cure if it gets wet. It requires heat that it generates, and I found out the hard way that if it gets wet, it doesn't generate heat and it doesn't cure. Or if it does cure, it takes days instead of hours. So anyway, my trees are going to help a little bit. Hopefully this doesn't continue too much, or I'll just have to put a stop to it. Anyway, assuming it doesn't rain, or even if it does, the next segment you'll see is my stop motion, where basically I set up the camera and it takes a picture periodically, and you'll be able to see me work as I do this. So anyway, that's it for now, and I'll see you in a little bit, or you'll see me in a little bit, in a stop motion of me going off and doing this. So let me explain the process real quick. All right, there is a gap here where the two pieces meet. They were originally made to be done in one piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some fiberglass mat here. I'll first put fiberglass resin across there. Then I'll cram this mat in here. You can see I made marks on everything to make sure it's aligned. So that'll reinforce that gap there. After I do that, both there and here, for reinforcement. And again, the other reason to do these is that the material I have, the fabric, may not want to go down into this section right here. So I'm going to fill it with this. That'll allow it to be more of a curve and allow the material to fill. Speaking of material, the next layer I'm going to put is this. This is a weave, fiberglass weave, 18 ounce, called Roving or something like that. Anyway, I forget. Anyway, it's very heavy. It's somewhat flexible, but you can see it's pretty coarse. So again, that will fill the gap. Then I'm going to put another layer of this on top, because there's something called print through, Whereas when you put the fiberglass on here, the resin on here, you still see this pattern. So this piece right here will hopefully absorb that pattern and make it to where it's not so prominent. Then finally, I have some lightweight cloth here, fiberglass cloth. I'm putting that on top of all of this, and that's merely cosmetic to make it look good. Now, it does happen to be strong, but you can see it's not real thick. So anyway, that's the process. Again, when I get to the stop motion, you'll see this happen. Typically 31 seconds is what it takes to show several hours. I have all of my fiberglass resin pre-measured in each one of these containers. Have it covered just in case it does rain, except for the one I plan on using. Actually, the two I plan on using. I have a roller here that'll roll out the material. I have paint brushes, actually chip brushes. What I've done is I've cut it down short because you take this and you stab it to get the fiberglass to work into the material. You don't brush it, especially with the mat, because once it gets wet, the binder that holds all those little fibers together breaks up, and then if you brush it, the fibers will follow the paintbrush. Let's see what else. Oh, and I used to mix up the hardener, MEK, in each one of these little containers, measure it out, and then when I went to the next phase, I would take one of these, dump it into here, mix it up with my spatula, wherever it is, I need to grab that, and go on. Someone suggested getting one of these, and I thought that's a great idea. The challenge I have is that's 2 cups of resin. I use 4, with the temperature, I use 4 milliliters. I was hoping this would be marked better than that. It's not. You can't see it here. Anyway, the lowest mark there is 2.5 milliliters. The next one's 5. So I'm going to have to guesstimate where 4 is. So anyway, a little bit disappointing, but I'll try it out. I may end up going back to the pre-measured individual ones, but I had that same challenge with it, that there's nothing that measures 4 milliliters that I have. So again, it's just going to be an estimation. All right, enough of that. All right, I'll see you, or you'll see me in a little bit when I see the stop motion, or when I do the stop motion. Thanks a lot. Bye.